Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hopefully we get some more in here. I know we have a lot of interest. I'm sure we'll get some more bodies in here. We got an interesting topic, and we actually took a couple weeks off for the holidays. A few weeks off. Now, I think throughout this is our first phase of 2026. Been slacking, but back at it, and I blame Red. All the faults. That's why we're here today. Now, we were chatting, and this sounded like a good discussion to have. So, if you can start off, go ahead. Like, feel space, keep it out there. Let's get some more bodies in here. And if you want to come up and join the chat, feel free. But in the meantime, Red, how you doing?
You know what? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, DB. I'm glad that we had this conversation today. I'm glad that we're having it because it's critical for mass adoption. And here's the thing that people don't often talk about too is that, it's one thing to get someone interested in crypto. And then it's quite another thing when you see a friend of yours sell all their crypto and say crypto is a fucking scam, fuck crypto. And that's kind of what happened to me in the last couple of weeks too. And well, just based on a lot of other conversations, I just feel like this is something that we need to talk about if we care about getting this, get this place legitimized so that people don't just say fuck this shit and sell all their shit.
Completely agree. Yeah, and I find myself running into the scenario more often than not. It's those people that did come in and either got wrecked by my friend told me about this meme coin or just whatever the situation may be. And they basically said exactly what you said. Fuck this shit. This is a scam. I'm out. And every single one of them is still out to this day. So this is why, well, we'll get into the meat of the discussion. But let me send it over to Joel. How you doing, Joel? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, my man. Yeah, thanks for letting me be a little late. I had to write down some thoughts. You know how it goes.
Oh, he's prepared. I see. That's good. We need that. We're still waiting on a few others, but in the meantime, we can just we'll kind of kick it off because this is an interesting one. Marcus, why don't you get up here? I know you definitely have some thoughts on this, and I was hoping to get a couple. I don't know. I think anyone that follows me knows I'm kind of anti meme coin and degen nature, so they know that's my side of things. So I definitely want to get some more on the flip side of it for sure. And Red, this all started. Oh, we were having a chat with, I forget who it was. I think it was in one of our private groups or something. And I don't. Do you know the background? How did this?
Yeah. It was Daryl. I love Daryl. I love what he's building with Cave Club Arena. I think you even did an AMA with him a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, with lineup, right?
Well, maybe it was that one, but he's got a couple of different things, and he had expressed like he was just wondering how do we get more users onto Sui, right? That was what he had said, and I brought up, well, we need to have good relationships with people on other chains too, and we need to be open to other chains. And I had mentioned that, and you said we just need to be legit, period. And then you started like a whole ruckus in that chat by like just telling people we need to be more legit.
Yeah, I might have gone on a little bit of rant. I forget, but it was probably no. I do remember what it was. The specifics of it was around not so much that we need to be more friendly to each other and join more spaces, although you should always join this space, of course, but in other spaces, but more so that we should stop thinking so small. I think most of the space is still fighting over the same couple hundred users. It's more than a couple hundred, but it's so minuscule and tiny compared to what many people think. And if you are building for, creating content for, or doing anything for the current, let's say 5 million users in all of Web3, you've already lost. And I think that's where I was kind of going with that, more so around the idea of we just need to think bigger. We have so much of the world that thinks this is a scam, and we need to start building and thinking for the billions that are to come and stop thinking small and competing, basically, especially the competing and the what's the word I'm looking for? I went down the AI anti-gravity rabbit hole. My head is spinning this morning, so I apologize. But when it comes to the what's it called when you have the mindset of there's not enough.
Scarcity.
Zero sum. Thank you, Joel. Thank you. Yes. He helped me out there. We have to think bigger. So that's all I was saying. But we do have some more speakers up here, so I'm going to send them around. Marcus, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. Doing good. We made it to 2026.
We did, and it's been a stellar start to the year so far. We're still here. Either way. We'll see. Go ahead. What were you saying?
It's just interesting watching these markets right now. It's crazy that there's so much bullish news going on and building, but yet the price action keeps dropping, and like you guys are saying, so many people are just so demoralized.
Yeah, especially those that aren't here anymore, that left the space or have no interest in coming back. And yeah, Red spoke to that a little bit. But here we are. We're still, the markets are doing their thing. Who knows what's going on? I know you're a big cycle guy. So I think do you still believe, and this is kind of a tangent, that we're in some part of a cycle, or this is an extended cycle? What are your thoughts?
I mean, as I wrote in that cycles thread, the cycles are about putting the odds in your favor, and they're just basically average time spans. It is a very simple way of looking at it. And before this, it was like, so far the cycles have never changed. Well, something is definitely different now. I was listening to Benjamin Cohen,
Yeah.
the Bitcoin dominance guy, Benjamin Cohen, right? I'm saying that right?
Yeah, the big dominant. That's a good way to
Yeah. And I like him, but he was saying that he thinks the cycles are still alive, the 4-year cycle, and that we just didn't get an alt season this cycle, which threw everybody off. So that's a possibility. But with all the bullish news and everything coming, with everything at all-time highs, precious metals are just skyrocketing. It's really hard to think that we're going to go through a multi-year bear market now. It's like, everything is lining up here. But it definitely looks like these markets need some time, that's for sure. I mean, that flash crash was huge. It was massive. I mean, you wrote about this, Stevie, where it was potentially upwards of over 200 billion that was liquidated?
I think, initial estimates were saying 19 billion, but then it was projected to be at least 5 times that. So closer to 100 million. And I think it has climbed above that. We're still seeing the impact.
Billion.
Just billions. Yeah, just absolutely massive. That was October 10th, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah, it's just crazy. And now here we are just trying to figure this out. Honestly, I've been listening to tons and tons of YouTubers and nobody knows what's going on. Not a single person. Everyone is just kind of confused right now because nothing makes sense at the moment.
Well, but whether it's bearish, bullish, whatever, the thing that my friend pointed out, the one he just sold all his Bitcoin, he said, there are no stocks out there that are as volatile as crypto. And then when it crashes as bad as it does, we just go, oh, it's normal. It's the market, blah, blah, blah. We're going to come back up. We're going to have a bull run. But he says to me, he said, if in fact, it's more volatile than actual stocks, why do we actually refer to it as investing? Why don't we call it for what it is? He says, when people call it sports betting, it's called sports betting for a reason. You won something. When you go to the casino, we call it gambling, and we call it gambling for a reason. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't anything of value built on chain, and I do understand that there is a fundamental difference between blockchain and and cryptocurrency, even though they're related. But that's where he was going off on tangents with that, because he feels like if you want people to trust it, you should be more honest about what it is, or maybe you need to have a different name for it. A lot of people think we fucked up when we started calling NFTs digital collectibles. And he said, so why, when people buy crypto, do you say you're investing when it's this volatile?
Interesting. Yeah, I think that kind of leads right up into our main topic for the day, too. And while we continue to send it to the rest of our panel here, we got a couple more we haven't introduced yet, and still waiting on a couple others. But let's just pose the question and make it simple. Yes or no? When we go around to you, is gambling the top use case for Web3? I'll try and keep it to a simple yes and no, and we'll get into the whys and all that stuff later. And so with that said, let's go ahead and send it over to Molecular next. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and then your yes or no. Is gambling the top use case for Web3?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I would say, at least for myself, no. Maybe for some, yes. I am interested in DeSci. So when you talk about collaboration beyond kind of interest, I think that's absolutely correct. And I think there's a lot more government interest going into crypto as time moves on. So I think that we'll see more control and things like that. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And let's send it over next to John Kelvin. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Oh, you there? You muted if you are. So we could move on and come on back. Let's send it over to, we'll go backwards again. We'll send it over to Joel, I think, who is behind the Dash account right now.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, I would say one word, absolutely not for gambling. It might have been misappropriated for that a lot in recent years, but it's kind of the furthest thing from it.
Got it. Okay, absolutely not. So we got 2 nots so far. Let's send it over to Marcus.
No, definitely not. I'll keep it short for you, but I got a lot of opinions on it.
Nice and short. It's 3. Red.
I mean, I think you know where I stand, but I feel like it's kind of like a nuanced answer. I feel like the biggest reason why people get in now, at least, is because they feel like they can make a lot of money real quick. Do I feel like that has to be the long term, or that it should be the long term to attract people in the long run? Wow, I said long a bunch of times. No, but I'm going to say that right now, I feel like that's the main reason why people get into it, unless they feel like they're also building something cool on top of that. I'm not saying there isn't like other exceptions, but that's the main reason why, is because people feel like, oh, they can win big and they feel like they can do it quick. Do you know how many times I've had people say, a meme coin funded my trip to Venezuela? I'm just saying.
I will say I have never once heard that, but glad to hear you've heard it many times, and I have friends who have actually done well with meme coins. I don't think I know any. With that said, John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Did you catch what I was saying earlier?
Yeah. About the topic, right?
Yeah, if you can, just tell us real quick who you are, and then yes or no, is gambling the top use case for Web3?
Okay. John Karen by name. I'm community manager for Leverbit. So, I would say pretty much yes, in some ways, but I'll explain later.
You can explain it now if you want. Woo!
So we got a yes, 3 no's, and Red, I'm going to put you down for like a half yes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And yeah, I'm not going to apologize because I'm American and we never apologize for anything. But I know you did want people just to initially say yes or no, and now you want to go around and see what everybody, why everybody thinks the way they do in a little bit more detail, because it's very nuanced.
It's okay, Red. I'll just have to toss a couple extra. We are super early in today just for that.
No.
But yeah, so we've got it. Good. For me, I'm gonna line up with the yeses, at least for currently. I totally believe maybe it's just not what I want, but it is definitely the #1 use case for Web3 right now. And yeah, we can dive into some more of the semantics. Who wants to kind of kick it off and kind of explain their reasoning? Or I guess I could provide a little more context behind. So when I was chatting with Red about creating the space, I also wanted to put out the message that when I said gambling, I don't mean, and you could take this however you want. We could talk about strictly gambling or from the broader sense. I don't mean specifically polymarket or I'm going to bet yes or no or this or that. I mean gambling as in if you're in this space or the majority of people that are in this space, you are using one of these platforms that can be considered gambling, or you are just flat out gambling because you're investing, in quotes, in something that you probably know little or nothing about, and it might be just an absolute complete joke. And that probably makes up the majority of the people in the space. Not saying it does those that are here, but wanted to clarify that when I said gambling, I look at it from a kind of a broader perspective. Who wants to kick it off? Come on. I know, John, I know you said you wanted to say something, so you want to take it? Over at Joel. There you are.
I can kick this off. Yeah, I definitely think the power of the idea of decentralized tech is kind of the reason for it's kind of its own worst enemy. And that's where we ended up in this framing of this to be gambling. And because in the early days of Bitcoin, for those who are around, everyone sort of understood it was digital cash, it was freedom money, all that kind of stuff. And what ended up happening is because it was so like rough and the technology wasn't really there, but the idea caught on so strongly that people used buying Bitcoin as a way of voicing support for the decentralized revolution, where people said, you know, screw banks, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. It was kind of like the mantra, because it wasn't super easy to like use it, I guess, but everyone could sort of buy it, so that's what you did. But then also it was viewed as sort of a hedge against whatever the current centralized nonsense systems are, of just buying it, and then therefore you're hedging. So if decentralized tech takes off, then your Bitcoin bags are going to be very, very heavy and very, very valuable. That's kind of the general idea. It kind of like the idea took off way faster than the actual tech did. And so then it created this weird misplaced kind of idea of, oh, crypto does really well. It pumps, and maybe not everything pumps, but something will pump eventually. And then people just got used to it, where if you get into some new form of, let's just keep it very simple with the digital cash use case, you buy something and then you say, oh, this is cool, I can send to friends, I'm going to send to someone in Africa, again, it's cost a fraction of a cent, and donate to something or whatever. You start doing those kinds of things, and then you check your wallet like 3 weeks later and it's gone up like 3x, and then you just like, oh, okay, that's what this is for. And then it eventually goes to zero, and you're like, fuck this, I'm out of crypto. So that's been the unfortunate, it's the victim of the own success kind of a thing. But it's absolutely it's probably one of the most useful things in the entire like world. It's one of the most useful inventions. It would be kind of like saying, AI's only use case is to gamble on AI stocks. It is ridiculous, really. Unfortunately, the ridiculousness has a grain of reality today, of where people do just tend to gamble on these stocks kind of thing and not really use it. And even, one of the most self-righteous communities in the crypto space, the Monero community, you see people all the time talking about buying it or posting price charts and all this. And yeah, we stuck it to the man because the price went up. It's like, well, you're not using it. You didn't close your bank account. You didn't do whatever else. And I think that just as long as that exists, as long as you do have this like fast pump effect, where it's not like, oh, you held this and staked it and did all this other stuff for 10 years, and then you got like 2%, 3% APY during that time, and you're doing better. Until it gets to something more calm like that, people are still going to take the easy way out. So basically it's our own fault for throwing money into things. I do think, as a final thought on that, first off, I don't know anyone who I've ever onboarded crypto who just exited the space ever. It just hasn't happened because of the ways I've onboarded people, I guess. But those people should be out forever, I think. They came in as a gambler of some kind, even if they were it might be a little controversial to say it, but even if they were onboarded, well, oh, you should get into this, it's these, and then all these positive things. They still came in with the intention of making money. They got burned, and then they're like, I'm out, and I'm out forever. My risk tolerance is gone. And they will permanently be out of that gambling space. I think we need to make everyone rage quit like that eventually. So then the only people left are the people who need the tech stuff, the people who see the vision long term of how this can be useful, or then you actually onboard end users to, like, say, a new social media site that runs entirely on the blockchain, etc. But the end user doesn't need to know that. They don't need to be sold a token. They just use a thing. And then those same people who rage quit will be back again against their will, and it'll be beautiful.
So, question for you is, I agree with pretty much everything you just said, and you've been in the space longer than most. When would you say you kind of saw the shift from I'm here because I believe in what this is out to do, and because Bitcoin can change the world, and it's freedom and decentralized and all this stuff, and blah blah blah, to I'm here to get rich quick, and I saw this do a 10x or 100x, 1000x. Did you kind of notice a period of time when there was the biggest shift of that happening?
Absolutely. I would pin it to 2017. 2017 was a dark year in a lot of ways, because first of all, the Bitcoin price trajectory, Bitcoin did take years to get going. And even when it did start to go parabolic, it still was like, okay, we still got this feeling of being earned, sort of. And then a lot of cryptocurrencies who were founded in the meantime had the ability to just, like, their whole, they didn't have to prove the technology. They just had to be like, well, Bitcoin did it, and we're like Bitcoin, but other things. And so therefore they kind of got the ability, they didn't have to work as hard for admission, for basic admission. And then in 2017, first of all, some alts started to really skyrocket. So then you had that, oh, we didn't fight the cypherpunk revolution in the trenches and we got all this money. There's that. Two would be Ethereum, because Ethereum and ICO, CryptoKitties, all that stuff allowed people to do stuff that wasn't strictly cypherpunk, which I mean, I think is great, by the way, but it's unfortunately, it opens up to other stuff. So before you had people who were getting astronomically rewarded for being cypherpunk and or at least believing in it or whatever. Again, it's a little squishy. But now we had people who just said, I'm going to buy this collectible kitty thing. I'm going to clog the network with that. I'm going to buy some digital stock to some company. And then they get astronomically rich. And then that made it, okay, crypto is where you go for money, regardless of other things. And also, I would then put the blame back on Bitcoin world, because during the block size war, we had two different visions of Bitcoin. And ultimately, the winning vision, in terms of BTC at least, had a lot of cynicism of, we kept the ticker, look, our thing is more valuable. Like the technical arguments of why this was a superior system didn't hold water. They weren't really being used. It always went down to the Bitcoin Maximalist's favorite thing, which is the price chart, to end an argument. And so once you start to say, we are the best cypherpunk revolution in the world because money, then it just becomes all about money, and it paves the way to Sailor. So that's kind of where it started. 2017 was a dark year for a lot of things if we really look back on it.
Interesting. And it seems like it hasn't changed much. If anything, it's gotten much, much worse with the future cycles. Red, did I see your hand jump up?
That wasn't like intentional. Sometimes I just get click happy.
Hey, no worries. I get it. So yeah, that's I didn't think you were going to go back that far. I guess I could see it, but I would have thought it was probably because it seemed like it was so much more of a pronounced effect later. But yeah, it definitely started. Like you said, back in 2017, when the ideologies and the vision kind of shifted. And then I know 21, 22, just when it went absolutely insane with the meme coin, I guess 23 even, that changed it so much more for many, many more. And here we are. John, did you want to jump in and kind of say what you were going to say about
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So let me put it this way. I have to look at the market, the whole gambling stuff, in a different way. Pretty much about crypto trading. I guess someone was saying something like the 4-year cycle or something like that. Sincerely speaking, the market is totally different now, and I love to see the market being independent of its own, because you cannot say that what actually triggered the bull run last time is actually what we're seeing now. We have so many things that have really changed, and if you look at the crypto market now and the people jumping in, it's all about I see this person making a huge amount of money. Let me try my luck to see if I can get this or if I can get that. So if you look at the mindset, it's automatically saying they want to gamble something with the hope of getting something out of it. So after looking at the whole market, and we see that, okay, after the hard fork or whatever, okay, let's count it. How many days are we going to get the bull market? It's just totally different. Yes, someone was saying most of the technical analysts on YouTube don't actually know what is happening. Yes, that's just the fact. It's just totally different. Totally different. And the whole narrative now, looking at the current crypto market, we're looking at a bully market and the rest, prediction markets. Everyone just want to jump onto something that's moving. Now, a whole lot of people in Africa, and they are only looking at what is moving in the markets. If you walk up to someone this morning and tell them, "Oh, can you come and do this or join this exchange, trade this, trade that?" The first thing they will ask is, "What will I get in return?" So now the whole market sentiment has actually changed. I actually worked with FTX back in the days, and I seen a whole lot of change in people's mindsets then and now. Now you talk to people about trading, they look at it like, no, I'm not gonna gamble my money into this. So so looking at the topic you said is gambling, the top use case for Web3. Sincerely speaking, what I'm saying yes is because gambling, people now take gambling for like I want to trade these. In fact, now you hardly see someone saying, "Okay, I want to buy Bitcoin and hold for the next 4 or 5 years." It's very difficult for you to see someone that's going to do that, because a lot of people don't see what has happened in the past repeating itself again. And I keep saying that different things happening, different news would pull the market down, different news would pull the market up, and a whole lot of stuff like that. And you get a lot of people bringing in so many narrative in the market. Everyone wants to do prediction markets, all kind of prediction market, because that's where everything is pointing at. So pretty much for me, I feel gambling is just what is happening now. You just need to look at what is worth it to invest your money into. But if you're looking at okay, let's go for the 4-year cycle, okay, this is what is gonna happen, you're just gonna stick with gambling. But that's what I've been seeing over time. Looking at my past experience in the crypto space over time, when market was still back before, and compared to now, when you get a whole lot of it happening up and down, people don't know what's really happening, don't know what major coin to hold, what a narrative is going to last forever, and all of that.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Let's send it over. We got someone new join us. Crypto Sailor, how you doing? Sailor, long time no chats.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I invited, or I was invited to come up, and I come up and do as much as I can here. I'm just getting into the space, and I understand the topic generally, but I think there's a lot of my own comment on the topic of the space would be that gambling is a use case for Web3, absolutely. And I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing. There is a lot of things that blockchain can do to help bring integrity to online gaming. And so that's a good thing. And it's really not possible to stop people from gambling as long as you have a pair of dice lying around. And it's not in the nature of permissionless protocols like the ones that are being developed in crypto to restrict the type of usage that's happening on blockchain. So gambling is a use case absolutely for Web3. Unfortunately, maybe too dominant of a use case as of recently in the last cycle that we've had here, the last 4 years, however you want to look at it. But it's something that's obviously generated interest and volume for blockchains. One of the first applications ever built on blockchain was CoinFlip. which or a coin flip game that was called Satoshi Dice that was built for Bitcoin, and that was really what got initial traction for usage of the Bitcoin network. So I'm supportive of using Web3 and blockchain to help improve fairness in that for sure. And it's not going to go away, but we do need to also focus on other more utilitarian uses, more real use cases. Real world assets coming on blockchain is a big benefit to helping balance out maybe more of the crypto casino kind of stuff. So I think it can be a net positive, except for, of course, plenty of people have lost money in the crypto casino. So it's hopefully a learning experience for the market, and seems to be dwindling at this point anyway.
Got it. Yeah. So I think it seems like we could all agree on the panel here that it seems like it's not the number one use case. Or when I say that, it's not because there's so many amazing use cases. But if the question is rephrased to, is gambling currently the number one use case for Web3, and gambling in the broader sense of making money, not just necessarily betting yes or no on a protocol, but making money, is gambling currently the number one use case for Web3? It sounds like we all agree that is a yes.
You mean as far as most users and stuff, right? Like that's what most people and activities around.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
the majority of people are probably here. Yeah. So how do we get past that? Because it sounds like we also agree on the flip side that it's not the number one use case for Web3. So how do we get there? How do we bridge that?
They got to lose their money. That's a good start. The people, more people need to lose their money. I think we're seeing this in this cycle where everyone is complaining. Where like maxis are like, oh, why isn't it? It was 130 or whatever. It's Sailor's gonna get wrecked. Oh, like there's all this whining in the Bitcoin world. There's all this whining everywhere else about no alt season. Where retail's just not here, man. What happened? All I hear is whining, and I've heard it all cycle long. And this is beautiful. This is what we need. Of course, it's easy for me to say that from my vantage point because, first of all, I've been kind of in a multi-cycle bear market for a long time. But also, every asset that I seem to like, all like the privacy and sovereignty things, have done really well in the past year. So it seems like a little like rotating back to stuff that really matters a little bit. But so the gamblers have to finish losing their money, kind of, and then it won't be the easiest thing to reach for. But then we do need some people to just build some apps that actually work, not proof of concept work, not you can go to consensus and debut it on stage and make everyone clap and then they buy your token, but like you get users, permanent users to your apps who don't know what crypto is, don't care about it. And I think that there's like very few apps that do that. Polymarket is oddly and ironically one of those things where ironically one of the least gambly apps is gambling. It's just kind of weird how that works. And then the final kind of a thing, we do want investors, right? Not gamblers, not speculators, but investors of some kind. The problem is the investment is purely speculative, meaning the return is based on other people coming in and buying, and then you're early, so therefore you make money. There's no revenue. There's no actual users. But once you get actual users paying actual revenue, then you can just invest in that and get a portion of the real revenue. Again, the way companies have worked since the dawn of time.
Yeah, good point. I agree with everything you just said. And actually, when you're just saying that last point at the end, it's kind of reminded me of a recent scenario we saw that showed us also that not only are we gambling and speculating, but we really are we're playing with monopoly money or Plinko chips or something, because even the companies that we're investing in, quotes again, air quotes, could change things last minute. What was the company or the protocol that just said, fuck you guys, we're out, we're creating a new token, we're taking all the software, the team. I think I've seen it actually happen with like 3 or 4 different teams in just the past couple months, where they said your token is just worthless. Sorry, we're going to go off and do a different direction. And maybe some people can recall what I'm trying to remember the name of the specific protocols, but it's happened with a couple different. Veracity is one of them. That one was kind of in the dumpsters, anyways. But there was another one that was fairly more major, like a top 100 token, that basically came out and said, we're going in a different direction. Your token is useless. Obviously, they said it in much more gentle terms, but we're seeing that happen in the industry right now, where people are starting to realize that you don't own anything. That token in your wallet isn't equity. It's not part of a company. It doesn't really provide you anything whatsoever. And I think that's a harsh reality for a lot of people. And what you said there at the end really kind of made me think of that, Joel.
Hello. That's a really good point, DB.
Yeah, I just wanted to stand in here and let you guys know that the biggest problem you have is that you aren't listening to yourselves. This is money. The only thing, I mean, like the money in your pocket, do you only gamble with the money that you have in your pocket? No, you go and you shop. You go and you buy food with it. You pay your rent with it. You buy gas with it. If you want to do something more with crypto, you have to offer a market. Do you make something? Do you offer a service? Accept cryptocurrencies as money, as payment. That's how you get out of this gambling cycle. That's what Bitcoin is meant for. You guys say that gambling was the first quote unquote use case. No, it wasn't the first use case. Buying drugs on the Silk Road was the fucking first use case. Buying drugs on the Silk Road was the first use case. Now, it doesn't have to be drugs. It could be a car. It could be gasoline. It could be the rent for your fucking whatever. But use it as money. Thank you. Oh, listen.
I know Joel does. And he lives off of crypto.
You should listen to the D Shift, man. I talk about this stuff all day long. And you guys keep talking about circular shit with gambling, this and dude, Staler isn't buying any fucking coins. I want you to find me a market. Look at a chart. Find me a market on the 19th of January where he was paying $95,000 a coin. That's like $5,000 over market for the time. Why? He's not buying fucking coins. He's lying to you fucking people. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful morning.
I mean, I totally understand that. As you guys were talking here, I was pulling up XAUM, it's gold, and you can earn 5% on that in DeFi. So it's like one of the focuses here is, so with gambling, you're correct in the sense where this is the top narrative, and I believe that's just a phase. Not a phase in the sense where it's gambling's going anywhere. I mean, everybody goes to Polymarket to see what's going to go on for world events. That's going to continue. I mean, that's just blowing up. I mean, even corporate media is looking at Polymarket now to see what it's saying. You know, is the Fed going to cut its rates type deal? So that's going to continue to grow. But I meant in a phase where it's the strongest narrative. One of the things or a couple of things that I focus on is for blue collars. I think about this as a blue collar because I am a blue collar. And it's like, so what helps me? And that's passive income streams. So it's like having gold earn 5%.
Supposed to be mining, by the way.
What?
Part of the reason why the narrative is quote unquote gambling is the difficulty in getting more crypto. See, the whole process of mining is supposed to be quote unquote passive income. You're supposed to be able to displace at least a part-time job with a stupid app running in the background on your desktop that all it does all day long is process other people's transactions. That's how mining is supposed to work. But just to let you guys know, mining as it currently exists is not going to be forever.
These people have to go and do public offerings. They have to do things like rent their hashing power to AI. That tells you that they're not making enough money doing mining to keep the lights on. And it's because you're not spending Bitcoin as money, and you're supposed to be. I mean, that's really how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be a far more circular economy. People like Saylor gathering thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. He's a mal-expression in this space. You know, in the long run, he's going to end up selling his coins, and he's going to sell them all at a loss. It's inevitable. He's got maybe a week, and he's going to lose about $30,000 per coin. And if you think his creditors are going to sit around and watch him lose billions and billions and billions of dollars of their money, you are wrong. Anyway, if you want back crypto, what you need to do is find the original copy of Bitcoin that had no block size limit, and you just fucking mine it. And you don't worry about whether or not there's hashing power out there that's following you. It will follow you because they will see the size of your blocks, that you're including hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of transaction fees in each block, because you're not waiting for the block limit and then fucking going on to the next block. You're not doing selfish mining. You're including all transactions as received for the full block interval. And if you do that, you will be producing bigger blocks, but you're going to be making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin on transaction fees. You know, everybody is still focused on the block subsidy. The block subsidy does not mean shit. We're supposed to be doing 20, 40, 60, 100 Bitcoin worth of transaction fees per block. Who gives a fuck about 3.125 Bitcoin when you got thousands of Bitcoin that could be in transaction fees? And that's how this is supposed to be passive income for everybody involved in crypto, not just banks, not just Saylor, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's not how everybody's going to get into crypto. Not everybody's going to be doing that and using Bitcoin as money because how volatile it is. So we're just not there yet.
Even out, dude. It'll even out.
Hold on. But what is useful for blue collars right now is, you know, being able to earn passive income on gold, being able to earn passive income on US dollars. And then when you're earning that passive income, you can continue to invest with that passive income stream freely. And that is useful for blue collars. I mean, being able to get into lending here permissionlessly and earn more than what you can earn in a bank anytime you want permissionlessly is a massive use case. And then on top of that, like with the gaming and whatnot, the gaming's also going to be huge, but we don't have any of the big games getting in yet. I mean, MMORPGs could just kill it in this market if they adopt crypto with their live economies.
You can find somebody that plays the game, sell them skins, take crypto for payment. Simple.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
you keep saying it like you need the rest of the world to do it and then you can do it. No. You do it.
Sure.
You be the one to do it. Don't and then tell other people, hey, yo, look, check this out, man. I made thousands of dollars by doing this thing. You might want to get in on it too. And that's how you develop the economy. That's how we did it in crypto. You know, you keep talking about blue collar. We invented this space. When I started in crypto, I had absolutely nothing. I was living with my parents. And my friends were doing Linux, and I went over there one time just to fucking hit one of them up for a job, literally for a job. And this guy's like, hey, check this thing out. You're all about electronic money and like stateless money, and you think that stuff's cool, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. And he's like, check this Bitcoin thing out. And this was back in 2008. This was when the white paper dropped, and it didn't even have product yet. But I said, dude, as soon as this is available, I need it on my hard drive now. And I ran it on a 1.8 gigahertz processor. It was hot as fuck. It was noisy as fuck. But, I mean, somehow or another, I fell asleep to the white noise of my fan. Anyway, point being that I did that out of just faith, that the idea that, yes, this is going to be a thing. and people are going to use it as money. And that was almost 20 years ago now. Okay. Now, I ended up shutting it off at about 2 months because there wasn't even a cash market for it at the time. I was running on pure faith. Okay. But from the market from 2010, from when we got a dollar exchange rate, from then until 2000, I would say 2015, was just utter awesomeness. Blue collars, the people that you love so much, because I happen to be one of them too still, unfortunately, because I found crypto, by the way. But until then, dude, we had Microsoft, we had all kinds of other companies, huge companies, using Bitcoin as money. And if you look at the trajectory as far as like the cash value of Bitcoin during that time, it was slow, it was steady, but it was an upward trend. Now, if we had continued to do Bitcoin just like that, with you, me, everybody else, we want to mine, we set up a computer, we put the stupid thing on there, let it run. And you put an app on your phone that lets you use it as money. If we were doing it that way, we would be processing huge, monstrous blocks, and you probably wouldn't even have to work by now. I mean, everybody talks about UBI. It wouldn't be UBI. It would be money that you're making. Now, as far as where to go next, we're going to have another alt bloom, because this aggravation that you're talking about, it's real. And it culminated in the previous alt bloom back in 2014 to 2017 was the first one. But that's going to happen again. And all the laws and all the regulations are not going to stop it. Thank you.
So we've got some hands up, some new people that joined us. Marcus, did you want to chime in real quick before I send it to the hands?
I don't know. It's hard to say that Bitcoin's helpful for blue collars. It doesn't have smart contracts. It's not very fast. I mean, there's other cryptos that have negligible fees. Sui's going to be doing free fees on stable coins now. It's like there's other things that are just more useful for blue collars. And then you can still get into this and then invest in tokens like Bitcoin and whatnot at the same time. But it's like people, you want to say it's a currency. Theoretically, that's great. I get it. I understand that. But right now, people cannot take the risk as a currency when something can drop by 20% and then they can't pay their bills. So theoretically, I understand what you're saying. But as a, the biggest market in the world is blue collars. That's not something that is viable as a currency at the moment. But I get it. I get your point.
And I'm going to add a little bit to what Marcus just said.
Hold on, Crab.
Difference in
Crab, I'm going to need you to raise your hand going forward. Hold on. Let us get to some of the hands and move on. Go ahead, Red.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I see where you're coming from, Krev, but I also want to support what Marcus was saying a little bit more by bringing up another point about how it's not necessarily viable for blue collar because of another thing. Rug pulls. There's no consequences for them. And it's just like, we just go, oh, that's just part of the space, whatever. And it's like, if you're blue collar and you keep getting rugged all the time and you just want to tell people, just use Bitcoin for everything. It's like some people would just look at me cross-eyed. They would look at you cross-eyed too. And then I know, DB, you said there was some other hands. And I don't know, Elon hates me, but I can't see any hands up.
Yeah, I know. That's every time. I lose them too, but I'm almost positive I saw Crypto Sailor raise his hand. I see Kat's hand up right now, and Kat just joined us. So we'll go ahead and send it to Kat right now. And then Crypto Sailor, if your hand is still up, we'll send it to you afterwards.
EMGM.
Hey,
how's everybody doing?
Thanks for joining
So,
us.
So I 100% agree with everybody who is saying that Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts. I mean, without the ability for smart contracts, the argument just doesn't size up, in my opinion. And that's all I'll say.
So I'll actually add a point from Raul. Powell, and love him or hate him, and some people love him, some people hate him. Just recently in a stream, he did say that, and he's 100% accurate, smart contract platforms have 10 times the total addressable market than Bitcoin, and using crypto as just payment or as store of
100%.
And he
100% agree.
Yeah, just think of the thousands, if not millions, of use cases that come with smart contract platforms that you just can't do on Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin maxis will try and argue to the end of the day. Sorry, but Opcat and all these other fancy tricks you're trying to do, the metadata tricks, they're not smart contracts. It's just not happening.
Can I add something on to that too?
Yeah.
Ethereum is building. So the New York Stock Exchange is building on Ethereum. They're not building on Bitcoin. They're building a whole new platform for stock trading, tokenized stock trading, separate from the current New York Stock Exchange on Ethereum. They're not building it on Bitcoin. So.
Well, I can't say I'm happy to hear that, but I will say that I guess it's kind of no surprise right now. They're not going to build it on Bitcoin. You can't, for one. But them building it on Ethereum, sorry, Red, we're still early. Nothing said.
Oh, no, don't say that. But I know you're going to keep saying that anyway. I really hate Ethereum, but I think you know that. But I also hate to admit, yeah, I mean, just what it's done and what people are still able to do on there. I mean, like it's still remarkable, as much as I love to shit on Ethereum.
Sailor, did you have your hand up? Do you have your hand up? You have something you want to tell me?
Yeah, I did have my hand up. Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it. Yeah, there was a great question you asked: is how do you go from here or get beyond the casino thing? And I was following a very passionate or emotional discussion there about what should be done, blah blah blah. And I think it's a different, like, this technology is evolving to a global ecosystem of interconnected smart contracts and blockchains and assets that is going to have to eventually and will eventually support essentially all financial transactions of any significance. So having I know there's a lot of consternation. I see it, of course, on my feed on Twitter, people crashing out, saying quitting, all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people are just looking at token prices and all this kinds of things. I come from a different perspective, having been in crypto for like 15 years, having been involved in organizing communities and building software for this technology since 2012. And so I'm not as susceptible to that, I guess, because I think inherently in longer time frames, in more like 5-year cycles. So, people are saying, what about consumer adoption, yada, yada. Okay, business adoption has to also happen if you're going to want to use these tokens for payments and consumer usage. So business onboarding happens much more slowly. They have infrastructure that's much more sophisticated or large scale. They have risk aversion. So business adoption is going to be inherently more slow than consumer adoption and all these kinds of things. But in terms of what to do, the only thing that I would say that I always turn to is get involved in building something so that it's going to help psychologically deal with, whatever things in drama are going on with the charts and media and stuff like that. So when you have a larger vision, then you think, okay, well, where will crypto be in 5 years? That's really all that's important. And what do we need to do to get there? There's tremendous opportunity for real. There's some real applications now that I'm just using them as apps because they provide value. I don't care about the token or whatever. They just provide utility. So there are things out there that you can start using that are using, like they're promoting and engaging with blockchain technology or building applications using it. It's creating usage, things like this, and then there's all kinds of new things that could be done as well. So getting out of the crypto casino also kind of means getting away from being obsessed about charts. I mean, there's so much incredible metrics going on for so many great technologies. I mean, Ethereum is out there, but also other projects where you look at the metrics and the charts are all just up and to the right. So I see that as major winning, and getting involved in contributing to a project and helping build something is the way this I see. It's like you're either a trader or an investor or a builder, and you just got to make a choice. If you're a trader, you're going to be in the charts, and you're going to be hopefully good enough or mature enough at trading to not lose your minds over charts. Or you're an investor, and then what you should do is buy your tokens and put them away and don't look at the charts for like a couple of years. Or you're a builder, and then you're getting involved in things that don't have to do anything with markets and stuff like this. That's just my perspective. Everybody here probably has ideas about which way we could go forward. It'd be hard to build consensus around that. But if there was a group that could come to consensus on saying, okay, here's a real application built using blockchain technology, and yes, you can benefit by buying the token and then helping promote that application, that would be something that any group of people, I think, in crypto could do, because there's a lot of things out there that I think are really great applications.
Real quick before you jump in, Red, I've got a question, a follow-up for Sailor. You're the second person that's brought up, and I agree with this, that build, create utility, bring actual use case. And my question for you is, do you believe that we have the foundation in place for that to even really matter? And if someone has the perfect use case, the perfect app, perfect utility, is the foundation, the infrastructure there for it to currently go mainstream, blow up, get mass adoption, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it's barely there. That's why we're in this Web 2.5 phase, which is that if you like, I'm building right now. I was just coding today. I'm getting ready to launch it's a game, but it's about testing certain hypotheses for an app that I'm building, blah, blah, blah. And it's very hard to create any kind of app that's going to be broadly accessible using pure Web3 tech. I know that. So Web 2.5 is the interim position that we're in, but also I would say non-software related projects. I see a massive opportunity that I think a lot of people in the grassroots of crypto or what have you maybe don't see, which is that when it comes to especially, let's say, even families and small business, probably there's going to be a not insignificant amount of crypto to be managed, which means if you have a business, you might have $50,000, $100,000 worth of cash that you need to float or something like this. This is more than you should be keeping, especially for business, on a single wallet, like on a mobile phone. So digital cash management and co-custodianship amongst trusted members in a community is something that isn't being done, and apps don't really support this very much, but there are enough tools out there. It's just not all polished, right? So the biggest thing I always point to is, if you're just in your community, you could start a meetup group or a Facebook group, and you could just have monthly events, real world or virtual, and you could just do digital cash management workshops, especially for anybody who's on crypto Twitter a lot, been in crypto for a long time. You know about all the different wallets. You know a lot about all the different risks that are out there. This is knowledge that can be valuable to people in your family and your communities that they don't have. So, and that could be plugged right into local credit unions or local financial services. So, because this is going to be a big problem, right? We all know there's no undo on blockchain. Your keys, your crypto, you lose your money, that's it. There's no undo. So mitigating that risk in families and business is a massive opportunity going forward, because Wall Street is going on board, and we're going to tokenize everything. They figured that out. So in this new paradigm, how are you going to manage a significant amount of money in your family, your business? You're going to have to do some kind of shared custodianship, multi-sig, whatever. And those tools aren't all nice and fancy and polished from Microsoft like they might be 5 years from now. So that's a massive opportunity, as well as thinking of a new app idea or what have you. But yeah, we're in an interim position. It's like the web and the World Wide Web in the 90s sucked, even though we were still kind of using it and starting to do things with it. And then eBay happened, blah, blah, blah. It really was onerous to use and not smooth and not polished. And that's just where we're at. And that's a massive opportunity. Massive opportunity.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, we got some hands, so I'll send it over to Red. You were first, and then over to Krav.
You know, I probably going to take things in a totally different direction. So if you want to send it over to Krav, cool. But I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of interested in hearing what Dash has to say now that we've turned things into this direction as well. But I don't know if he's available to speak. What? No, seriously. Before I go off on another tangent, I kind of want to see where your head's at.
Yeah, well, what specifically?
Well, what specifically? Like, okay, because you're a builder, right? Like, do you feel that this gentleman's solution for, oh, well, just get more involved in the trading side is a great way to solve this problem that we currently have, which, whether we like it or not, currently gambling is the top use case, just doesn't have to be long term?
Let me give it like I would say kind of no, but let me give it a little bit more of an allegorical example of you can be a tourist in a lot of things and get surface level knowledge on things, whether it's do a new hobby for a little bit, whether it's whatever, and eventually getting deep and down into things takes a lot of time and effort, and that's unfortunately what we really need. There's a like, for example, let's just take the example of relationships, right? You can get really good at impressing on like a first date or something like that and just make that work out. But then you as a person, as a partners or whatever, never get to grow to where you're useful to anyone really, because you just kind of dip your toes in. And I kind of feel like that's what a lot of crypto has done, is just build some basic proof of concept type thing, done, kind of shown something cool and sexy, and then just like, there you go. You have to be in it for long enough to run face to face with all of your weaknesses and figure out how you're going to fix those and how you're going to solve those problems. So I think that.
Can I ask you real quick and ask a question on top of that? Sorry, I just came up. So when you're saying fix your inefficiencies and issues, I agree. And the way I look at it, or the question that I have is, do you think a lot of the inefficiencies and obstacles and stuff are things that they themselves may not be able to solve? I mean, a project that is building a real use case, that's building on infrastructure that's either not secure or not decentralized or not this or that, do they really control that? And is that kind of what you're pointing to as well?
I think that there is a control to it, right? I do think people control it enough, or builders do. Let's just look at like the top coin market cap ranking for a quick little thing here, right? So like, let's just take, I'm going to take like the top 12. And I'm just because it includes a couple good ones in there. Bitcoin. There is absolutely no reason for the user experience to be that trashy and that terrible, for privacy to not be there, for the long-term security budget to not be fixed. There's just so many things that, we got money, we're going to keep it going. Like, even if you just want it to be a store of value, there's not enough ways of trustlessly bridging to other chains or L2s or assets or whatever. And then the same thing goes to Ethereum, right? Obviously there's a bunch of holes with EVM and ERC20 stuff that yourself, DB, have pointed out a whole lot. But then just the scaling roadmap of, let's just let L2s do everything and kind of prioritize them and not really care that the user has all this weird fragmentation and stuff. Like, the user experience is just not being taken seriously. You can just go down the list to just about all of them. I mean, Dogecoin's kind of useless, and Cardano, as far as I know, again, I don't want to talk too much smack, but I have heard that there's not much really being built on it. It doesn't have good transaction capacity. And I'm a big fan of Bitcoin Cash and Monero, but let's be honest, both of those have long confirmation times. And in particular, in Monero, you have to wait for 10 blocks after you send a payment to send a second one. And I've witnessed this in the real world, where people are just paying at a farmer's market or whatever. They buy something with Monero and then they have to switch to a different crypto for their next payment because it can't work. And like, who the hell is going to use this at scale? And the fact that finally the Bitcoin Cash community is kind of getting into like, oh, let's get down to like maybe 1 minute block times. There's some conversations around that. But all the ones I mentioned don't even have instant confirmations. I mean, at least you could give some like Solana some credits for just, being able to get a user experience for some people. But then, there's a lot of other asterisks I won't even go into. But so like people aren't taking any of this stuff seriously. And it's obviously easy from my perspective to just talk about all that stuff because in 2014, Dash came out with the first instant transaction finality function in crypto. No one else had anything similar before that. And now some people do, but it should be every single one. It's just like, does your house have door locks on it? Like, yeah, every house should come with doors that lock. Like, it is some really basic stuff. And again, it's because people keep buying this shit that it doesn't have this. That's the reason why we're where we are. And when you have a handful of crypto natives, and like, for example, my most recent example of this is Farcaster. How the hell do I sign up for Farcaster? I've tried for years. I can't figure it out. Everyone just says, oh, you got to download this app, and here's my link. And then you need an email to sign up, and I never get the email code, and I just can't use it. And like, I've been using crypto for 13 damn years, and I can't figure out Farcaster. And the fact that this isn't an all hands on deck emergency, that's the real problem. We come up with problems, but then you never solve them because, enough crypto people hype stuff on Farcaster. They look cool to be like, just what? Posted it to Farcaster fam, GM. And then that's it. They check that off their box, and then they go back to X all day long. And then they complain to Elon that the algo sucks, which it kind of does, but it doesn't suck nearly as bad as literally everything they spend their entire life working on. So, I mean, you got to start building stuff that actually works, that people will actually work. You have to be able to use these things in real life. And that's part of the reason why me in particular, I try to live the decentralized open source, all crypto kind of life, is because I need a reliable data feed. I need to have actually be able to tell people what works and what doesn't, and be like, and this has happened before. I remember in 2018, I think 2019, somewhere around then, there was a merchant local to me called Fezziwigs that accepted cryptocurrencies, and of course Dash was one of them. And I went and paid there every day, and I'd always have like 30-second transaction delays right there because of some sort of a wallet bug. And I was like, why does this keep happening? And then the devs were like, well, we have no idea. It should just work. You should just hit send and it sends, and the second later it's done. And it was some very edge case bug where something to do with the place was like full of glass, like a Faraday cage basically. And there was a moment where the network switched connections right around the time when based on the time it took me to get to the counter and order, and all these sequences of timings, this confluence of events made it so it just didn't send for like a little while. And so they had to actually fix that bug. Again, super edge case bug. But if the average user is just like, oh, I'm going to use this as money, and then they go and the experience sucks, they're not going to use it. And then you lose that user entirely. And you need to be focusing on those kinds of issues time and time again, these complaints, nothing, it's good enough, and get actual users. And if anyone said, look, we have enough users or growth is fine, I mean, look at your apps, see how many people are using them. The market tells you things like how many people are using pay for stuff apps.
Interesting. Yeah, so many different avenues we could dive down there, but I'm going to send it over to the hands. We've got Krev and then the cats after that. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that the current market expression as it currently exists, I heard somebody say the word efficiency. And I'm going to tell you, as a manufacturing person, efficiency always wins. And what we're looking at in the current crypto market is a lot of inefficiency and expressions of it, because there are people out there that are trying to distract you from the fact that you don't need banks and ATM cards anymore, and you haven't since about 2011. And you got to understand that, and then they fight you means that they're going to lie to you, and they're going to deceive you, and they're going to make you feel like you're losing, even though you're really kicking their ass right now. And you have to have a little bit of faith in what you're doing. You can't focus on the dollar exchange rate for anything. It's worthless. You know it's going to continue to be more worthless as time goes on. So why are you even paying attention to it? Offer something online, give it a fixed price in a cryptocurrency. And who cares if it becomes $33 on the open market? If you're making it and you're paying and you're accepting $33 for it, good on you. But don't worry about the rest of the market. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Determine what you want to do with crypto and just fucking do it. You know, I heard Yoel out there talk shit about Doge. I use Doge all the time as money, and it's fucking fast. So, you know, crypto originally was supposed to be all scan, enter, send. None of this second layer bullshit to get it either. You send the damn thing, and by the time the rest of the network gets it, it's a completed transaction. It's settled globally. You don't have to wait for confirmations. You do now because there's a likelihood that your transaction's probably going to sit in the mempool for about 2 days. But that's on us because we're accepting block size limits. They shouldn't exist. They were never meant to exist. And the longer you enforce them, the longer you're going to have to endure those big old fluctuations in exchange rate. Thank you.
And like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Thinking that a 1 minute block interval for Dogecoin is acceptable is absolute bullshit. Like, it doesn't work. And instead, what we're defaulting to is oh, it's unconfirmed, but it's fine. It's fine. I don't care if giant hash rate swings. I don't care if, you know, Litecoin miners are doing a lot of the hash rate too, but it's fine. I have a friend who's an old school Dogecoin whale. He actually goes by Age of Doge even. And he also uses Dogecoin relatively frequently. And over the last few years, especially, the infrastructure has just not been there. Like, the wallets don't really work. He constantly has connection issues. It's basically, from a practical service perspective, it's kind of an abandoned chain in a lot of ways. And it's just not primed for payments. And of course, I guess if Bitcoin BTC is your standard, then yeah, okay, fine. You might say that's better than that. But it's still like the fact, like, you know, Dogecoin is, I hate to hate on Dogecoin so much because I think it's cool. It's a fun meme. I like it. It's an OG coin. There's a lot of actual usage that happened in the past, maybe not today, but a lot of actual transaction volume and actual utility happened in the past. But it's also kind of a joke to say that that's our standard for payments today. It just cannot be. And if we're saying that, we're just not serious about crypto adoption. I'm sorry.
Kat, what do you got?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Dash on the Dogecoin argument. Doge is slow, and not only slow, but I mean it's literally a dog coin. No, you can't legitimately say accept Doge for a service, and the liquidity on Doge is all over the place. It's not stable. So you could accept it today, and then, you know, a week from now, it could be worth more. It could be worth less. So it's just not a good currency. When it comes to crypto adoption, I 100% agree with both speakers that we're really in the infant stages right now. Web3 hasn't really reached its full potential. Web3 is very hard to navigate. It's very hard to navigate all these different wallets, all these different exchanges, and different yield platforms, et cetera, et cetera. So things have to be worked on the UI UX side for mass adoption, in my opinion. Is crypto a gambling? Like the full use case for crypto is gambling? No. But that's where the shiny kind of acorn is right now for everybody with squirrel brains. So,
Joel, I see you off mute. Did you have something you want to come back with?
I must have pressed the button again. But no, I would say that, yeah, there is always a Like there's an element where you run into, oh, this is a hard problem to solve. Oh, we haven't solved it yet. We're busy solving other problems. There are legit excuses for why shit doesn't work, but the we don't care excuse is why you're going to zero. So if people don't care that things don't work, then they will go to zero. And that's just kind of it. We should just support things that don't go to zero.
I don't see any other hands up right now, so I kind of want to go a little bit further down the rabbit hole of one thing you were mentioning, and also the question I asked you, Joel, around can builders really build in the way that you think is beneficial? And I kind of want to reframe it a little bit. You were talking about how builders can add privacy. They can obviously improve consensus. They can make it fast, which is necessary. I completely agree with the discussions that, and if we don't have second or sub-second payments for a lot of things, it's just not going to work. I mean, minute, 12 minutes, whatever it is, it's just it's a joke that that's the case for a lot of things right nowadays. But what about if you look at the big picture and how every single protocol right now is an island, and it's the bridges and not the little bridges like Gravity and Layer Zero, stuff like that, but the bridges that connect it. That's the infrastructure that I'm kind of talking about, that a builder can't come in and really fix, or unless they, I guess, build their own bridge that's better than all the others. But it's different than saying I'm going to come in and build the next best layer one that is secure, it's fast, it's decentralized, it's got privacy, it's got this, it's got all of the things that check the boxes, but you're still operating as an island, solo. So is the infrastructure there for the entire space to really succeed without kind of a winner-take-all outcome?
Yeah. So the bridging part is kind of a problem, and a lot of that is because the network effects, the hegemonic network effects, kind of go to chains that just don't work very well, which is obviously Bitcoin is the king of this, but then also like Ethereum and the others. And so you kind of need them, but then you kind of need stuff that actually works. So that's what necessitates bridging. Now, what you had in the early days of Bitcoin, again, going back to be Mr. Roger Ver style, big block or whatever, back in the early days, Bitcoin was the dominant network effect chain, and no one worried about bridging that much because it worked, and you could do some tokens on it, you could do whatever, but like the idea was that this would work for a very wide range of things, and other cryptocurrencies were either experiments or they were very specific to things like, say, Namecoin or whatever. They had very specific use cases. And it turns out that like we are in this age right now where every single cryptocurrency chain, basically, I don't think there's a unified ecosystem that you can kind of do everything on. You kind of need to go bounce around all these different ecosystems. And this is something I've been actively trying to sort of address and fix from where I could stand, which is at least for the money and payments use case, you just kind of need Dash in most of the world, and that's it. And so, okay, then you can use other things. But I think that where it happens is, first of all, you don't have comprehensive enough ecosystems because everything is way too fragmented amongst dozens of chains. Where one chain, like, let's just say Polymarket is a great example again. It's just like the one big reason you'd want to be on Polygon. And then you have some big thing on something else. We got Hyperliquid doing their thing over there, for example. And then you got Uniswap over there, whatever it is. And at some point, you will have entire ecosystems that all run on the same chain. And that need to have. The problem is everyone, as you mentioned, like the interoperability is kind of what you need because no one's going to use your thing because they're not going to use anything unless they can use everything. So it's a little weird to say that, but like the point is, I do think that.
No, that's a great way to put it. Actually, that's the first time I've heard it said that way, but I completely agree.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, no one's going to use everything, and like the interoperability needs to be fixed, and it's always going to add extra friction over using a native ecosystem. But that gives the each native ecosystem the chance to actually develop. And so, for example, I'm a big fan of the cross-chain space, the cross-chain AMM decks, whatever, those kinds of things. Not just AMMs, of course, but it kind of started with Thorchain and then the Maya protocol and Chainflip. Then we have newer things like Near Intent. So you could argue that like Hyperliquid and Aster sort of count, even though they're mostly perps. They do have Spot as well, but you know, bridged wrapped Spot, but it's not quite the same. But basically, one of the foremost examples of this is the Zashi wallet for Zcash that has a Near Intents built into a function called CrossPay, where you could basically, supposedly, you know, pay anywhere that any crypto is accepted as long as you have Zcash that just gets bridged privately from there. And I mean, full disclosure, I've been working on something similar like that for Dash for a while, and we're hopefully going to get it out pretty soon. But basically, the idea is you should be able to just at least a couple of major cryptos, the good ones, should be able to like receive from anything and then send out from anything. And I think that the big bridging problem, part of it is UX on DEXs, but also, and I do notice that incumbents like the Thorchains are a little resistant to do the kind of, there's a little bit of cope. There's a little bit of like, well, near centralized. So of course they're faster and more efficient. It's like, well, you got to be faster and more efficient then. So there's a little bit of that, but also it kind of goes back to, if I want to build an app that everyone wants to use, if I want the app to actually succeed, if I'm serious, I need to give the customer what they want. And sometimes they want to be able to use it with other chains. And the fact that bridging is sort of like an afterthought for, again, the pros, the people that just live on crypto, that use it a lot, that just say, hey, where's a swap service where I can do this? Hey, where's a chain where I can wrap? And then they have no options, so they have to go through the big pain in the ass of doing it. Where if it's built in natively, like you say, like, let's just say a Farcaster or a social media type site or whatever, like you should be able to, whatever balance you had, it should support tipping or whatever in multiple cryptocurrencies. And even if it only works native to one chain, you should have an option where you can just scan a QR code and send some Bitcoin in there, and it ends up as, you know, whatever the hell on base, you know, at the end. But you plug into all your users. And if you like, no, we don't need to, means you just want to fail. So that's why, again, the endemic problem of these apps don't really have users. They have like testnet users, basically. Like we're all testnet users in crypto. We're not real users. And so you need real users. You need to build for real users. And then that runs into those problems such as, oh, I build on the large market share chain, but it sucks. And I lose all my users. Okay, well, maybe now I'm forced to build on the one that works instead of the one that sucks. Or I build something, but all my users are on large market share chains. I need to have a way for them to bridge in so they can actually use my product. And then, oh, the bridges suck. Hey, fix the bridges, man. And then you fix the bridges. And then you're like, bridges inherently suck a little bit. So let's just then, but now that everything's interconnected, we just all start pooling into the more efficient ecosystems over time. And because everyone's interconnected, you don't permanently lose crypto users when something tanks. Like if you're using 5 different crypto apps built on 5 different blockchains, eventually some of those blockchains will absorb the others when the others fail. But instead of those people just stopping to use crypto, they just, okay, let's say there's a social network and there's a payment network on this one blockchain now. So the social network one dies, but the user is already using that chain for payments. So there's a social network version on that chain. And so now it just kind of gets absorbed in. And then eventually we get things to actually work. But basically, it all starts from the beginning. We need to build apps that work, that people will actually use, and then that will solve the bridging problems. And once you have the bridging problem solved, then you will start to be able to get people to actually compete in an open marketplace, and then the chains will compete against each other, and then the bad ones will fail and the good ones will stay, and then you don't lose the users, and then we all win. I've solved it for you.
All done. Problem solved. We can go home now. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. And I see it the other way around, but I'll come back to that in just a minute. I want to send us some hands. I think we had Crypto Sailor and then the cat, or flip flop. I'm not sure who was first.
I
Yeah,
think
I'll
it was
just go
Cedric.
quickly because I was going to agree with a lot of what Dash said. In terms of your response to your question, is enough there to build? Yes. The issues is more related to wallets and accessibility to different networks, to different wallets, etc. It shouldn't be a consideration to use an application about what blockchain it runs on anyways. I'm not exactly sure, why that would be a consideration to a user. Let's say token purchaser, trader, investor, maybe you care. But if I'm using an app, I don't really care about the blockchain or the token. I just want to use the app. And that's when you have a real application and real utility when you're doing that anyways. In terms of what's lacking, why I've said this is kind of a disruptive thing to say, but there's just not a lot of quality resources being delegated towards building quality user experience in the blockchain space. It's a hard thing to do, to build quality UI UX. If it wasn't, everybody would do it. And it requires an actually very diligent and high degree of commitment and dedication to building it, because everywhere around what you're building is just easier to cut corners. So yeah, it's just very hard to do. It wasn't until like Apple did it that maybe personal computing didn't itself just completely suck. So it's there. You can build good stuff, but you need the people who are willing to make the commitment to building good stuff.
Real quick follow-up before I send it to Kat. Do you think the UX really does, I don't want to say sucks in general, or is it just, again, because of the infrastructure? And maybe I'm phrasing that.
Yes.
I've used plenty of UIs, UXs that are amazing, but as soon as you try and do something that's not on that specific chain, that's when it breaks. That's when it falls apart. So do you think that's where the issue is? I somewhat disagree with you saying that it's hard to build good UX unless you're building with the whole Web3 space in mind, which is what should probably be happening, but it seems like it's not. And you have very little control over that.
Well, it's actually it is actually possible right now to build really top tier UX. You are limited by the developer tooling that's available. So some of it is getting good, but you have to build if you want to have multi-assets, multi-apps working across multi-chains through a unified interface, it could be very, very difficult to go through all the different steps it would take to make a really, really smooth user experience. There aren't a lot of wallets out there that are quality at all. I've used most of them, and they can all be dramatically improved. Nobody needs to bring up MetaMask again yet, I'm sure.
Yeah, great example there. I know, Kat, you had your hand up for a while. Do you want to go down this topic? Do you have a different area? Do you want to take it down? If you do, we can send it to the hands real quick because it just popped up. What do you got?
Yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to thank the VCs and that we should thank the VCs for splintering liquidity, because they all raised for L2s in the, I think it was 2021, 2022. That was all that was being raised for within the VC raising community. And I can say that because I was a part of it. So, but I wasn't a part of raising for L2s.
Yeah, the countless L2s that we saw pop up.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like 100 plus different L2s. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. And say that, now we have to figure out how to unsplinter all the liquidity that is isolated on all these other chains. So, yeah.
Yeah. So hands, I know Red and Dash both popped up during the last kind of back and forth. So I'm not sure who was first. Red, you want to go?
Oh yeah, because I'm so shy. mean, I think all of these are great points, but it also leads me down a path of like usability. And I do want to get Molecular's take on this in a minute after Dash talks and other people too. But, you know, having the discussion about like things needing to work properly. You know, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with ICA. I mean, they don't even use bridges with their technology. And that's, you know, the star interoperability tool, you know, on the SWE ecosystem. I mean, and that is certainly something too. But when we're talking about like building something of value, right? And this is something that, you know, I talk to people who are in gaming about, like, because there's sometimes this attitude that every single thing about that product needs to be experienced on chain. Well, it needs to work, first of all, but I don't really feel like if every single aspect of it has to be on chain, that that's necessarily the best thing for anything, no matter what it is that you're building. I mean, if we, and I know that, you know, Dash, you had some strong opinions about how stable coins can be bad too, but I think that there are certain things, you know, that you can have blockchain membership for, like Gary V, his Fly Fish restaurant, they now have a standard membership, but you can also apply for a blockchain membership. And if you have that blockchain membership, then you get all the perks and extra things in that restaurant. But there's another level of accessibility, and it doesn't have to be on chain. If you're playing a game, does that game have to be completely on chain? There's so many issues with, you know, technical issues with things crashing and whatnot. But I think that there's got to be a place or just different levels of access, because I just don't think that, you know, something as volatile as it is necessarily going to get people to want to stay involved in something long term. And that's just kind of an issue. And I'm going to bring up something that I know Molecular is going to have an opinion about in a minute when we get to her, which is DeSci, right? I swear to God, we're going to have a space one of these days. What's wrong with DeSci? And there's a lot wrong. Okay. There's a lot good about it too. But I see sometimes, you know, people doing raises in the DeSci space to help someone who's ill. And I think to myself, why the fuck are we using a token playing with someone's life? And I'm not saying we can't use tokens for stuff, or there isn't a whole lot of use cases for why decentralized science and all the, you know, transparency on the blockchain isn't useful. But it's like, my God, I mean, I'm pretty sure she's got some thoughts about that, which is not to say that we can't use, you know, NFTs or tokens for part of it, but is it really appropriate to be using it for all of these things? But as long as blockchain is part of what people are using it for, and they have the option, and they are incentivized to use, you know, tokens or NFTs for different parts of what you're doing, I think that might be something where people will have, you know, the long-term utility is why people want it, because they just get extra perks. Okay. So I'm going to land my plane right there. I know Dash has some thoughts, and I'm sure Mo has some thoughts.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say, like, one thing someone said about like UX isn't hard. Well, it's never easy, but you have to do it. You have to figure it out. Just like making money as a business is hard. Of course, it's hard, but also you kind of have to do it. But then also about the whole, does everything need to be on chain? I would say a qualified yes. Like if we're building something that if we need decentralization, then everything needs to be on a decentralized network, basically. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. But the problem is, I think a lot of people shoehorn things into being on chain, where it's, let's just say, like image file storage directly on a blockchain, for example, rather than through a more purpose-built storage mechanism, something like that just doesn't make sense. And I kind of feel like we're doing users a disservice when we do one of two things, and they're opposite sides of the same coin. The same lazy coin, which is one, just put everything on chain and the user experience sucks. People hate it, but hey, we're pure. It's all on chain, man. And that doesn't really necessarily make sense. Or the other way, you make it all centralized like everything else, and then you just say, well, but technically the NFTs are on chain. And it's like, okay, great, that solves nothing for anyone either. Both of those cases are a disservice. And I think that you do need to have everything built on decentralized architecture if you're going to LARP about decentralization at least. And then once it can't be done, you either got to pick if you're going to just deal with a bad user experience and fix it over time as the network and tooling gets better, or deal with a good user experience and just progressively decentralize. But one or the other has to happen. It's a temporary state that we should have, again, hit 2013, 2017, that kind of era, and be working on it by now, instead of now we're still at the stage where people are like, ain't good enough, and it's not really, it doesn't really have full decentralization. And of course, everyone knows Moxie Marlin, Spike the Signal founder, give his big Web3 critique, basically calling everyone out for being LARPers, for everything's Web3, but you're still running everything on Infura and centralized indexers and stuff. So who cares? And I mean, sure, but then no one rushed to be like, oh yeah, sorry, let's get working on that. Let's fix it. And that's kind of the thing. I mean, obviously there's a few projects that I like that are kind of addressing the real things, but there has been this bloat of laziness around doing things that actually work. And it's not like this, we're kind of like going in circles a little bit, but because it's not the great mystery. Like, I know we're on this space to talk, right? To just go through things and stuff. But like the entire subject of this whole thing, it should have been obvious, which is, there was money that you didn't need to build usable products and get users in order to get. So people got the money and they didn't do the work. And then eventually the money goes away, and then they'll have to do the work to get the money the next time around. And that's basically it. Like, the crypto has been the reason why crypto's a casino, the reason why the apps and products and chains suck, the reason why people make dumb excuses for this, the reason why everything is because it got a lot of money that wasn't conditional on building stuff that actually works.
Let's send it over some hands. I think Krev, and then we've got Adam.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that, back in 2014, most of the stuff that you talk about with regard to these coins having boxes, smart contracts, privacy coins, dude, we invented all those boxes. We invented them, and most of the people that invented them were probably too young to drive, too young to buy cigarettes, and too young to buy alcohol. Okay, like people talk about degen now. We invented that term too. Okay, and we didn't even have AI to help us. So this excuse that you can't create, you can't build, no, that's between your own ears. Build stuff. You are the market here. There's nobody before you here. There's nobody that needs anything more than you need it here. And when you start taking that to heart and start trying to address those needs, then you'll understand why you're in crypto. Anyway, I'm going to be leaving now, but I'm starting my show at 12 p.m. on Twitch, DJ E-Rock 23. See you guys there. D shift. Later.
Take care. Adam, what's going on? How you doing?
Good. On my way home. What about you guys?
Just having fun talking about Web3, crypto, chaos, gambling, all of it.
Still early?
No. We would never say
Forgot greedy VCs. You forgot greedy VCs. Just gonna throw that in there.
Yeah, that is true. How could we forget about that? Yeah, that's what destroyed the entire space.
The VCs are always greedy, but I would say that they are a necessary evil somehow. Anyway, I just popped up in the chat to directly speak with DB because I kept following for you to launch spaces according to the schedule, and it's either not showing on my side or you didn't host them so often and you skipped some.
Yeah.
Right?
We took the holidays off, and this is our first space back since right before Christmas.
So I'm still a loyal listener / speaker of the spaces.
You are. You haven't missed anything. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, just wanted to ask when you wanna do. I'm gonna shift. I don't know if you have any invites or if I'm interrupting something over here. But wanna switch a little bit to our beloved Multiverse X thing, because man, there are lots of things to discuss over there. I was thinking with Vid to fire up a space, but then I said, let's do a bigger space together. I don't know, with multiple people or whatever format you guys want. I'm the fan of just firing up spaces and people freely discuss about certain topics. But yeah, are you down to organize something like that, DB? Hopefully with some
jump in on it, maybe. To organize it, definitely not.
Yeah, no. Listen, I mean, I don't care about bullshit formats and gathering questions in advance or things like that. No, that's not my style. But to just think on firing up a space and announce it and then see who's joining. Hopefully, I want to get Benny or Lucy on a space because I do have some questions for them. Even the X Alliance guys, whoever is still left over there, but especially Luca, Sandu, and Pepe, because they are the three-headed dragon of X Alliance. So yeah, I do have some questions about what's the current status of the Echo overall. I know that in terms of content, you kind of not covering so much of it, so sorry to jump in and derail the entire space into this topic. But yeah.
Yeah, no worries. We can chat about that later for sure. Red, I know you had a point you wanted to kind of toss over to molecular and kind of a different direction, right?
Yeah, but I think it could also stay in alignment with what Dash was saying, which is keeping everything on chain, even though we have mixed feelings about stable coins. I mean, I feel like there is a use case for that, and there's possibly a way, if incorporating that to keep it all on chain. But molecular.
Yeah, and let me interject. I'd rather have dollars on chain than dollars in your bank account.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I did want to get Molecular's take on this because there's a huge use case for DeSci and in biotech. It's just a mess right now. And I know she's got some strong opinions about this. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, biotechnology in the U.S. is definitely declining. A lot of it's going overseas. And I know, using money in general is risky, whether or not you're buying a product, service, or a business in general. So supporting businesses with, the crypto coin kind of initiative can help them, depending on, whether or not they, have good business practices. And so it's really important to kind of do a lot of investigation and make sure that, DeSci or just, whatever coin you're interested in is legitimate, and the people who are supporting it are also legitimate.
But how do you feel about tokens, the use of tokens with DeSci, NFTs? Do you feel like there's a bit of gambling going on in there in that space?
It's always a gamble when it comes to business because so many businesses fail. And so, it's always a risk, like I was talking about earlier. But when it comes to DeSci, some people have managed to make NFTs out of their white papers to circumvent the system because it's taking too long and they're not getting the advantages that they need in order to get the information out. And, creating coins to, fund certain research. Regardless, they are trying to get grants. And so there's always some kind of way to get funding, but it may not be as easy. And trying to tokenize it has its own challenges in itself. Thank you, Red.
Kat, did you have you want to add to this, or what do you have? What's going on?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to bring it up. The people who are using DeSci to raise money for said illness. Has anybody like validated that they're actually have a illness and that it's not scammers? Because that's what it seems like to me. Is it just scammers using Web3 in a new type of way? I mean, just traditionally with GoFundMe, I mean, you have people who go on GoFundMe and raise money for various like fake illnesses. I mean, it happened a few times last year with some TikTokers. So, yeah, that's where my mind kind of goes when I hear that people are raising money with DeSci for an illness.
Molecular, did you want to chime in? And actually, before you do, I'm gonna be the one in the crowd that says, "What the fuck is DeSci?"
So DeSci is decentralized science. Is basically putting it on the blockchain. And yes, I am familiar with one of the projects that has to do with trying to get assistance for a sick child. And yes, there are videos. There's plenty of information. I've talked with the mother more than once. So yeah, it's not a scam, but I totally understand how some people can see certain things can be, and certainly some are, but some are also not.
So right. Society is science, but it sounds like it's based around philanthropy and giving. Am I correct in saying that? Is that what the main use case is for right now?
It can be. It's also testing different biological materials to see whether or not they can advance longevity or just different things. I mean, there's so many different aspects of DeSci that people are trying to investigate, whether it's insurance or records documentation. It's a huge area that's just open for so much.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard it called DeSci, strangely enough. And maybe that's just a weird Twitter algorithm thing. Go ahead, Kat.
No, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, yeah, just like anything, I'm sure it opens up the possibility for scams, especially because, for one, a lot of people just don't verify what they're doing, and people take advantage of that. And, well, here we are. But like Molecular said, I'm sure there's a lot of legitimate use cases as well, and hopefully, or not hopefully, depending on how you look at it and whatnot, there will be some, I don't know, I hate to say this, but regulations and consequences for scammers that maybe take advantage of it. But that's a tricky gray area in this web.
I mean, it's already classified as fraud. You don't need to do much more for writing of the laws, right?
But if it's decentralized anonymous, are people just able to get away with it?
No, because it's not really anonymous. It's pseudo-anonymous, right?
Yeah. Okay, good point. Because it's a specific use case. Like you're naming this as, well, what if I just made up a sick child or something and said, I've got a sick child and I need money? And I could still do that anonymously.
Well, no, but I'm saying that the blockchain that you're using is pseudo-anonymous. It's not really anonymous. You can be identified. Your transactions can be traced. Your IP can be found. Like, it's not really anonymous. Like, people say that it's anonymous because they're not really aware of how the blockchain is transparent and anybody can go look at it.
Don't get me started on that rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, you went into that rabbit hole the other week when I was on the other show that you host. But yeah, it's not really private, right? So if somebody's committing fraud, their fraud is right there public on the blockchain that anybody can go see and dig into. And in most cases, eventually they're going to try to cash out. And when they try to cash out, that's when they connect their account to a centralized exchange, right? So it's pseudo-anonymous.
So you're saying that crypto and Web3 isn't just for illegal drug dealers and arms dealers and stuff like that? It's not just for...
Oh, shut up. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love all the politicians that think they know everything and know absolutely nothing when it comes to this stuff. But
I mean, truthfully, wait. No, wait. Well, let's go into that for a second, right? Truthfully, Bitcoin was used in the early days on the dark net for all that stuff, right? It wasn't Monero, it was Bitcoin in the early days. Now it's Monero. They've wised up a little bit, but in the early days of the dark net, they were using Bitcoin and they were using what is it? Pay later services? I forget what the hell it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times now where people would, how many times did money just sit dormant until they touched it or they moved it and then they got busted years later?
Right.
So, yeah. Again, I don't know how we got down there. Interesting about the D side. I'll have to look into that because I've never heard it called that. I'm familiar with like the philanthropic side of it. I've got a buddy, actually one of the original co-hosts of X Space is here, who started Philanthropy, which is based all around this, and it's a centralized platform for donations and giving and stuff like that. So it definitely falls in line with, I guess, DeSci. Where were we at though? We kind of went in a circle. Help me out here, man.
Like circular logic, DB?
Well, I gotta go. I have to go get coffee before the place closes, or I'll be very cranky. So thanks everyone for being here, and thanks for letting me ramble and be a little bit obnoxious. So appreciate it.
All good. Always enjoy having you on, Joel. And yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, he goes to space Thursdays at I think with 2 hours earlier, an hour earlier than this one started. So
An hour earlier. So it's usually the same time, but it's UTC. So it's noon my time now, but during the summer it's 1 p.m. my time. But point is, if you guys want to speak, I haven't recruited anyone to speak yet, but all you guys are invited. Well, the ones who are still here at least are invited. This Thursday, 5 p.m. UTC, CryptoCorp, we're going to be talking on, are privacy coins about to be banned? That's the subject.
That's a fun subject.
Yeah, and there's listen, there's a lot of data going into this, and I have a lot of people looking into a lot of pending legislation, and I did pay a lawyer myself to look into a lot of this stuff, so I have some extra insights and hot takes on that. And so yeah, it's on my mind because I'm adjusting a lot of my like business adoption strategy for this year based on some findings. So let's just leave that as a teaser. So come to the space and listen. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, if you could, like, I don't know, DM or be obnoxious and tag me or something, because like I have a hard time like with the group chats and everything, or just the timeline gets flooded. So I mean, Joel, I always love hearing you speak. So yeah, if you don't mind, you could go ahead and like, send me a message, and if I'm available, I'll definitely jump in. If not the whole time, definitely part of the time for sure.
Sure, yeah, I'll see if I can remember to ping you. Let me put you in the spreadsheet real quick, just so I can make sure to remember you. Anyway, cool. All right, see you guys. Bye bye.
You can also, you can also when he puts up the link for the space, you can click on the space and you click scheduled, and then it'll notify you directly in Twitter or X, whatever you want to call this app now.
Are you talking about like hitting the set reminder button, Kat?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I can, if I see somebody's space, yeah, I'll hit set reminder. But if I don't even know, you know what I mean? If I'm not seeing it on the timeline for whatever fucking reason, I'm not going to hit set reminder in the first place. And that's what happens. Like some people, they have regular spaces all the time. So I kind of know it's kind of in my memory. But if it's not something that's, regularly part of like my routine, or if they're having a space that is at kind of an unusual time, I'm not going to remember. So like, I think it's okay to like, just ask people sometimes just to tag or DM or whatever. And I've even had some people tell me lately that they want me to, send them a little message because they said, I don't see anything in the group chats. I don't look at anything in the group chats, yada, yada, yada.
Well, in that case, they just have to open up their eyes.
Okay, it's all good, but I do kind of see where they're coming from, because if you're in too many group chats, after a while, it's just like, holy shit, you don't even look at most of them all the time anymore, especially if it's a lot of engagement spam. Like myself right now, like I make jokes that like, hey, if your life is sad, you just need to be in more group chats. But it's gotten to the point now, I don't even look at all of them anymore because I'm in too many of them. So I understand where they're coming from. Jack?
Yeah, if you guys saw what my Telegram and Discord side box looked like, I think actually, what did I see last time? Over 1,100 unread notifications or something just in Telegram alone.
Yeah, Telegram's a mess.
Channels either. So it's way too many. Probably time to clean up, but I'm just too lazy to even do that. But I think I don't see any other hands, and I know we lost a couple, so I think that's probably a good time to actually close it off. Everyone, make sure to go ahead and follow these speakers. Great guys, great women as well. Loved having you guys on. Great chats. Give us some interesting ideas for future chats to have too, how we can continue to expand and go down these rabbit holes. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we will catch you maybe with Joel Space on Thursday or next Tuesday. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.